A vast expanse of heaven and earth had already twisted, evolving into a new world within. Within this new world, where birds chirped and flowers fragranced, there lurked a massive creature forged like ice, stunningly captivating under the illumination of light. This colossal ice creature exhaled endless mist, filling half of the 3,000 worlds, yet not a single cultivator came into contact with it. It was the low-level primordial life, Frost Nightmare Messenger. Where are the cultivators? Where? The Frost Nightmare Messenger was quite agitated. It excelled in ice and a few soul-related methods, but this time the cultivators had kept their distance, shrouding it with a terrifying formation. 3,000 worlds, deadly mechanisms of heaven and earth. A cold voice echoed. Within this world, billions of sword lights appeared instantly. The countless sword lights interlocked like gears, making the entire formation cooperate with profound mystery, and its power surged dramatically, to the point where the low-level primordial life, Frost Nightmare Messenger, fell into despair. No, the Frost Nightmare Messenger watched in despair as a flood of sword lights engulfed it, eventually tearing open its body and cleaving through its core. Before absolute power, it had no way out. Its shattered corpse fell to the ground. It was only then that Emperor Qing appeared, waving his hand to collect the massive corpse. Although the sword lights had sliced up the body, the actual loss was minuscule, and it could still fetch a high price. Impressive. Luo Feng also appeared nearby, praising, "Brother Emperor Qing, you are much more crisp and decisive than me. And this 3,000 kill array is also much more profound than when we sparred before." Emperor Qing had also deployed the 3,000 kill array when they sparred in the Land of Origin, but back then it was not as profound. "I brought a secret treasure array map, which I purchased for 5 million primordial crystals. It is a half primordial level formation diagram," Emperor Qing smiled. "With this array map, the 3,000 kill array can be even stronger. This Frost Nightmare Messenger was just something I happened to restrain." Luo Feng nodded. After all, Emperor Qing was an enlightened who had almost reached the middle stage of Divine Emperor. With deeper realm accumulation and a fitting formation diagram, his explosive power was indeed above his own. Boom! Massive thunder twinkled wildly, roaming all over. Luo Feng's world avatar struggled to entangle, but this time the terrifying, massive thunder did not engage him in combat. Instead it focused on escaping. It tore through the edge of the 3,000 worlds and vanished in a flash. "It was my mistake," appeared Emperor Qing nearby, shaking his head. "Brother Luo Feng, even with your will secret technique, you forced this thunder weasel to reveal its true body. I couldn't kill it in one strike, and as soon as it regained consciousness, it fled immediately. We've done our best." Luo Feng had also gained insight. Forbidden spells and the Lai Yuan technique were simultaneously deployed, managing to blast the thunder which was hidden in the clouds, revealing its original form as a seemingly small beast like Thunder Weasel. But the Thunder Weasel had very strong survival abilities. Even if slightly dazed and confused, it was able to resist a full-force attack from Emperor Qing's formation, shedding 90% of its power and forcibly escaping the 3,000 worlds formation. It's a pity. Although this Thunder Weasel is also an early stage of Divine Emperor low-level primordial life, the profundity of thunder it contains is quite extraordinary, valued at around 3 million primordial crystals. But it's too difficult to kill. Emperor Qing was also rather helpless. Luo Feng nodded. Low-level primordial life, after all, are born free from the braided cage, possessing many special talents. Some with extremely special talents could even sneak into a city like Yuan City, which is under the protection of many elders and hall masters. Therefore, occasionally in Yuan City, cultivators are ambushed and killed by low-level primordial life. But such covert attacks by low-level primordial life are not too reckless, because attacks within the city may at any moment provoke a group of elders to strike back. Luo Feng and Emperor Qing hunted together, and their cooperation got better and better. Luo Feng's Causality avatar deployed the heavenly extinguishing curse technique, in combination with the Lai Yuan technique, to great effect, generally able to daze Divine Emperor early-stage low-level primordial lives, giving them a very short window to launch a killing move. Luo Feng engaged in close combat entanglement, with Emperor Qing's 3,000 kill array encircling. The 3,000 kill array was more than 10 times stronger than Luo Feng's Heaven and Earth avatar combined with world projection. One after another, Divine Emperor early-stage, low-level primordial lives were hunted down by the two of them. Sigh. The black flying boat was flying stealthily. Luo Feng's biomimetic eye of destruction opened between his eyebrows, carefully observing the surroundings. Emperor Qing was also employing his detection technique, each with their own strengths and different secret detection methods. Not far from the black flying boat was a colossal creature integrated into the void. This behemoth, as if part of the void itself, had tens of thousands of long limbs. With the tens of thousands of limbs working like a loom, the void was being woven, turning the vast expanse into a web it had woven. The black flying boat of Luo Feng and company had already flown into the web. At this moment, Luo Feng and Emperor Qing were still completely unaware and were carefully scouting the surroundings. Buzz. The void weaves, layer upon layer of netting enveloped over. Something's not right, Emperor Qing suddenly frowned. What's wrong? Luo Feng was still completely unaware, as his spatial perception was far inferior to Emperor Qing's. Let's leave quickly. Although Emperor Qing could not be certain, he vaguely sensed a great terror in the void. Whoosh. He immediately steered the black flying boat, reaching its limit in burst speed. as the black flying boat abruptly darted forward. Layers upon layers of void webbing throughout the world finally fully emerged, encompassing the black flying boat. It's a void weaver. Emperor Qing and Luo Feng both recognized it and saw the emerging void weaver, its massive size and terrible aura, which allowed them to estimate its probable strength. Late-stage Divine Emperor Void Weaver. Run. Luo Feng and his companion didn't hesitate for a moment. Faced with such a void weaver, even mid-stage divine emperors who are the enlightened would flee without hesitation, and the two of them harbored no thoughts of fighting. Emperor Qing stowed away the black flying boat, as it seemed useless at this moment. Luo Feng's time avatar then took Emperor Qing into the future timeline. In the future timeline, the time avatar carried Emperor Qing as they fled for their lives. Luo Feng and Emperor Qing had long discussed various strategies for escape. Since Luo Feng was carrying less valuable treasures, and his robust perfect divine body excelled in close combat, it was natural for Luo Feng to cover the rear and ensure Emperor Qing's safety. After all, the combined value of the secret treasure array map, black flying boat, and life-saving items that Emperor Qing carried was over 10 million primordial crystals. Moreover, their spoils of war this time, which included 6 corpses of low-level primordial life, were also temporarily in Emperor Qing's possession. While escaping in the future timeline, the time avatar and Emperor Qing noticed streams of void silk threads infiltrating the future timeline, enveloping them. Does this void weaver not only control the void but also have such a profound impact on time? Luo Feng was helpless. His time avatar's talent as an ultimate realm power primordial bloodline creature allowed him to traverse past, present and future all at once. Those who reached the second realm of Godly King on the path of time would possess similar methods. For those unfamiliar with the Dao of Time, Luo Feng's ability to escape was formidable. However, even low-level primordial life beings eventually break out of the braided cage. As their strength increases, they naturally wield influence over various aspects such as time and causality. Heavenly Extinguishing Curse Technique. Yuan Technique. The Heavenly Extinguishing Curse Technique, a forbidden move from the Life and Death Dao, executed with the Causality avatar, also affected the Void Weaver. Before mastering the complete Great Dao, Luo Feng's spiritual will had already reached the level of Divine Emperor and even surpassed the limits of Land of Origin during his extensive cultivation in the Dream Domain. Later he successively mastered the 3 Daos of Life, Destruction and Life and Death. His spiritual will rose time after time, unknowingly reaching the late stages of Divine Emperor. This was the harvest brought by enlightenment. Of course, for Divine Emperors as their realms accumulate depth, their spiritual will gradually reaches a limit. To break through again, the spiritual will must break out of the braided cage, attaining a level comparable to high-level primordial life. This breakthrough of the spirit was more difficult than any other previous bottleneck. Thus, even beyond the source world, among the countless worlds where the strong converge, those whose spiritual will reaches the level of high-level primordial life are still extremely rare. Boom. The Heavenly Extinguishing Curse technique accounted for 30% of the power, while the Yuan technique accounted for the remaining 70%. It managed to slightly delay the pursuit of the Void Weaver. Whoosh. This delay allowed Luo Feng's time avatar, carrying Emperor Qing, to quickly flee in the future timeline, getting out of range of the Void Weaver's pursuit. After all, the Void Weaver's influence over time wasn't too strong. Next, I must find a way to escape. Emperor Qing escaped. Luo Feng, watching the towering and massive Void Weaver, let out a roar. His world avatar split into 3, each world avatar with 100-fold energy reserve and sufficient strength, headed in different directions to attack. World projection. Heaven and Earth unite. Heaven and Earth escape. Kill. The 3 imposing world avatars charged fearlessly towards the Void Weaver. Inside the black flying boat. How did it go? Emperor Qing looked at Luo Feng. The Void Weaver was too formidable. Luo Feng gently shook his head. Only the Heaven and Earth avatar managed to escape amidst the chaos. It was only due to the frantic combat by the Causality avatar, World avatar, and Heavenly Light avatar that the Heaven and Earth avatar had a chance to escape. The Heaven and Earth avatar had a broad enough cover range that once it used the Heaven and Earth escape, it could flee extremely quickly. The Heaven and Earth avatar managed to escape with Luo Feng's only pair of secret treasure gloves. We've lost a lot of energy reserves. Luo Feng felt a pang of distress. Such an energy reserve would take centuries to accumulate in the Land of Origin. In Yuan City, although the energy here was more potent, without the aid of a small universe, the current rate of energy absorption was even slower. Perhaps with a higher realm, the rate of absorption could increase. You covered our retreat, allowing me to escape, Emperor Qing said with a smile, and I didn't even have to use my life-saving treasures. In the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, the powerful beings generally greatly treasure their life-saving items. Especially those powerful beings from billions of worlds, those without avatars spare no expense on such items. These life-saving items could even offer a chance of escape in the presence of a half-primordial level existence. Of course, life-saving items are costly, with the cheapest being several 100,000 primordial crystals, and the sky's the limit for the more expensive ones. Some innate secret treasures and life-saving treasures exchanged from the infinite space treasure vault have extremely high values. Your loss of so many avatars and such a vast amount of energy reserve shall be counted as 500,000 primordial crystals, said Emperor Qing. For our gains, the 6 corpses of the primordial life we've obtained are valued at about 6.5 million primordial crystals. This time, it's estimated that your share is 3.5 million, and mine is 3 million, Emperor Qing said. Okay, Luo Feng nodded. They had set some rules before forming a team. The spoils of war were to be divided equally. In case of a crisis, to save the spoils of war and escape, the one who suffered the greatest loss would be compensated first with the shared spoils of war. Losing hundreds of times the perfect divine body energy reserve was a small matter to Luo Feng. It could be recovered after a few centuries of cultivation. If Emperor Qing used a life-saving treasure, that would cost 2 million primordial crystals. Of course, Emperor Qing only had that one life-saving treasure. He was ultimately a being from the source world with cloning techniques, and thus he was unwilling to spend too much on life-saving items. Our gains are good. It's time to head back, Emperor Qing said. The more creatures we hunt, the more likely accidents will happen. Although the majority were lower-level primordial life at the early stage of Divine Emperor, the more they hunted, the higher the chance of encountering stronger ones. This time it was just a late-stage Divine Emperor Void Weaver, but what if they encountered a perfect-level Divine Emperor? With Emperor Qing's life-saving treasure valued at only 2 million primordial crystals, whether he could escape was another matter. It's indeed time to head back, Luo Feng nodded. His own avatars were greatly depleted, and his strength had significantly decreased. It was time to return to Yuan City. Of course, he still had considerable energy reserves for his avatars within Yuan City. With over 3 million primordial crystals, this time I'll have to carefully study the exchange options in the infinite space treasure vault, Luo Feng thought to himself. He controlled the great Dao of life and death, and so he naturally could receive higher rewards in infinite space. Who? The black flying boat cautiously made its way back. The closer they got to Yuan City on their return, the more likely it was to encounter cultivators looking to plunder. Emperor Qing was very experienced and steered the black flying boat in a big detour. Coupled with Luo Feng's scanning with the biomimetic eye of destruction, they finally managed to narrowly avoid plundering and successfully return to Yuan City. We're back. When the black flying boat flew through the city gates, Luo Feng and Emperor Qing finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although Yuan City often has theft and occasional plundering, it is generally very stable and safe. We'll first go sell the corpses of the low-level primordial life, Emperor Qing said with experience, maneuvering the black flying boat towards the inner city. Large-scale trades of low-level primordial life corpses almost always take place at the primordial hall. The first floor of the primordial hall is for trades of low-level primordial life corpses. On the second floor you can exchange combat merits, Emperor Qing explained. Combat merits? Luo Feng looked at Emperor Qing. Killing low-level primordial lives earns combat merits, Emperor Qing said with a smile. Accumulate enough combat merits and you can exchange them for some unimaginable treasures. Some of the treasures within the infinite space treasure vault can be obtained through combat merits. Luo Feng understood and asked continuously, how many combat merits can we get for our spoils of war this time? A low-level primordial life from the early stage of Divine Emperor is the weakest level. 6 corpses equals 6 combat merits, Emperor Qing shook his head. Our rate of accumulating combat merits is too slow, so we usually sell the corpses directly including the combat merits. After all, it's impossible to verify who killed them from the corpses. As long as you take a freshly killed corpse to the second floor for verification, you can lock the combat merits under your name, Emperor Qing said with a smile. Generally, only the hall masters and the elders are willing to collect combat merits on a large scale. Luo Feng nodded. During their conversation, a magnificent and colossal palace had already appeared in the distance. The entire palace was a deep azure color, profound in hue, with an endless aura of malevolence subtly concealed within. This palace has collected an unknown number of low-level primordial life corpses over the endlessly long years. Of course, too many cultivators have died during hunting as well. Hunting itself is a matter with both risks and rewards. If successful, you naturally make a great profit. But failure could mean death. We've arrived at the primordial hall, Emperor Qing said, looking at the palace in front. Quickly, after putting away the black flying boat, Emperor Qing took Luo Feng flying to the front entrance of the first floor of the primordial hall. The first floor of the primordial hall was quite expansive, divided into 13 independent areas, each of which could carry out trades of low-level primordial life corpses. The 13 buyers of low-level primordial life corpses all have different prices, Emperor Qing said with a smile. You should ask around a few places and see who offers a higher price to decide who to sell to. Emperor Qing, my brother, a jovial rotund elder greeted warmly. When hunting again? Seems like you've got quite the haul. Just risking my life, Emperor Qing said as he walked over. Those of you from the source world have avatars. You're far stronger than us, the rotund elder laughed. Although he was a bit stronger and could purchase life-saving items, he rarely went hunting anymore. In the billions of worlds, the frequency of strong beings going hunting is generally much lower than the cultivators from the source world. This time we hunted 6 low-level primordial lives. Take a look, what price can you offer for each? Emperor Qing sat down with Luo Feng, and the attendants had already prepared delicious food and wine. And who is this? The rotund elder looked at Luo Feng. This is my brother Luo Feng, Emperor Qing said. I'm Buyu and I'm in charge of shop number 3 on the first floor of the primordial hall, the rotund elder said enthusiastically. I hope Luo Feng will take care of our business in the future. Although he was in charge of this shop, it was not his own. After all, there were only 13 shops on the first floor of the Primordial Hall, and even weaker elders did not qualify to get involved. Luo Feng nodded, sure. The two sides negotiated the price. I'll go ask a few other places, Emperor Qing said after finishing the negotiation. After asking the 3 shops he was most familiar with, Emperor Qing eventually sold the low-level primordial life corpses to these 3 shops. The corpses themselves were sold for a total of 6.08 million primordial crystals, and the 6 combat merits were sold for 600,000 primordial crystals, totaling 6.68 million primordial crystals. There are not many coming to sell low-level primordial life corpses. Luo Feng observed the trade and noticed there were no other cultivators coming to sell spoils of war during this time. In all of Yuan City, there are at most hundreds of thousands of hunting teams, and on average they hunt once every several hundred years or even longer. How much trade volume can the Primordial Hall accumulate in one era? Emperor Qing said with a laugh beside him. Luo Feng did some quick calculations and nodded slightly. Let's divide the spoils of war. This time you risked a lot in the rear. Let's take out 500,000 primordial crystals from the total spoils of war for you first. The rest we divide equally. Emperor Qing allocated on the spot within the Primordial Hall. You get 3.59 million primordial crystals, and I get 3.09 million primordial crystals. I owe you 100,000 primordial crystals and today I can finally pay it off, Luo Feng said. Emperor Qing nodded and with a flip of his hand, produced an object. It was a dazzling polyhedron, emitting a variety of strange colors. Brother Luo Feng, I'll sell you this treasure, the Illusion Realm Maze, for 90,000 primordial crystals. How about it? The Illusion Realm Maze? Luo Feng recognized it immediately. It was a storage secret treasure with a uniform selling price of 100,000 primordial crystals in Yuan City, carried to store treasures. Very few in the entire 9 Rivers sacred realm could steal from it. Almost every divine emperor owned one. Luo Feng, previously poor, was reluctant to buy one. But now with his first hunting yielding over 3 million primordial crystals, if he were robbed, it would be too late even to cry. Buy it, of course I'll buy it, Luo Feng said with a laugh. Emperor Qing, where did you get the surplus, Illusion Realm Maze? When you're out, it's easy to encounter robbery. Naturally, this also means you might counter-rob and obtain a few Illusion Realm Mazes, Emperor Qing said smilingly. Those shops sell it uniformly at 100,000 primordial crystals. But if I sell it to them, they are only willing to pay 80,000 primordial crystals. Luo Feng understood. I knew you would definitely want to purchase after the hunting expedition, so I prepared it in advance for you, said Emperor Qing. Alright, let's part ways here. I'm also planning to go out for a substantial purchase. Okay. Luo Feng easily refined the Illusion Realm Maze, an extremely high-level spatial secret treasure. It was possibly at the Half Primordial level in terms of craftsmanship, but due to its simple materials and sole function, the price was kept impressively low. After purchasing the Illusion Realm Maze, I still have 3.4 million primordial crystals left. Luo Feng felt a sense of financial robustness. I must go on a grand shopping this time. Last time he bought almost the cheapest materials in Yuan City, refraining from purchasing many things that had caught his interest. All intelligence on the divine emperors in Yuan City, 10,000 primordial crystals for one set? I'll take one. Luo Feng no longer felt distressed, casually buying a set of intelligence stored in black jade that concealed a heart spell technique. To access the information, one must first actively use this heart spell technique, employing one's spiritual power to apply a layer of the heart spell on oneself. Luo Feng barely took time to understand the content and immediately tapped into the black jade to actively use the heart spell technique. Once the heart spell technique was completed, the black jade dispersed, and a stream of information merged into Luo Feng's consciousness, namely the detailed information of numerous divine emperors in Yuan City. Yuan City's 10,377th Divine Emperor Intelligence Report. There are approximately 3.47 million divine emperors in Yuan City. We have collected information on 3,397,320 divine emperors. Yuan City's number 1 divine emperor, Wei Yang Palace Master. A half primordial level enlightened one, a powerhouse from the source world, and presumed to be the mightiest entity within Yuan City. He has once demonstrated formidable physical strength, killing a perfect level low-level primordial life in a one-on-one battle with his physical might alone. He also revealed his terrifying formation skills, using them to besiege and annihilate an entire tribe of low-level primordial lives, with very few managing to escape. The report also contains some scenes of Wei Yang Palace Master in action and conjectures on detailed combat situations. Yuan City confirms that nearly 100 elders are completely aligned with Wei Yang Palace Master. They have formed the largest faction within the city, occupying half of all trade shares. The Insect Nest, Shadow Tower, and Deceit Workshop, 3 forces notorious for theft and robbery within the city, all pledge allegiance to Wei Yang Palace Master. Luo Feng carefully read on. The 3 forces daring to steal and rob within the city all stand behind Wei Yang Palace Master and nearly 100 elders? They also take up half of the city's trade share? Truly terrifying. Yuan City's 2nd Divine Emperor, Yuan Xiang Palace Master. A half primordial level enlightened one, a powerhouse from the source world. The founder of Yuan City. His contributions to Yuan City are immense. In the process of building the city, he led many elders in battles against tribes of low-level primordial lives, exhibiting an eruptive strength even more formidable than Wei Yang Palace Master. However, his physical body is rather ordinary and he has been injured all along. As a source world powerhouse, he has multiple avatars, each of them likewise afflicted with injuries, suspected to be contaminated by high-level primordial life. The report included multiple scenarios where Yuan Xiang Palace Master took action. Being weak in physique, Yuan Xiang Palace Master always struck from a distance, displaying the power to destroy heavens and earth. Just catching a glimpse of him, one could feel his frailty, his flame of life seemingly struggling to keep burning. He is the city founder? At this moment, Luo Feng held some respect for Yuan Xiang Palace Master. Building a city in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm was an arduous task. As the founder, Yuan Xiang Palace Master's contributions were monumental, and nearly 100 elders sided with him. However, due to his own weakness and infrequent interventions, the faction he led seemed a step behind in power. Yulan City's third Divine Emperor, Gai Tao Divine Emperor. Gai Tao Divine Emperor, a half-primordial level enlightened one from the source world. In the entire Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, he is ranked among the top 3 in artifact refining. He disdains fighting and instead leads just over 30 elders with an interest in artifact refining to concentrate solely on crafting artifacts. The various weapon secret treasures he has crafted are sold in several cities throughout the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. Through the might of his weapon secret treasures, Gai Tao Divine Emperor's strength is unfathomably deep, possibly not inferior to Wei Yang Palace Master. However, his rare interventions make it difficult to assess his accurate strength. The intelligence included 3 instances of battle where he acted casually. One instance released a colossal abyssal orb that devoured a perfect level primordial life of Divine Emperor level. Another time he extended a hand and a giant palm crushed an elder who dared to offend him, killing him with brute force. The other palace masters said nothing about it. Although that elder was a source world powerhouse with avatars, he never returned to Yulan City after that. Another occasion was a wrathful moment when he killed one of his own disciples, swallowing the disciple whole. It was clear his physical body was as formidable as a secret treasure. The intelligence of 3,397,320 divine emperors. 3 of them were half-primordial level enlightened ones. 723 were enlightened ones at the later stages of divine emperor and others of comparable power. 52,092 were mid-stage divine emperor enlightened ones or of equivalent power level. The rest were all at the early stage of divine emperor level as enlightened ones. Entities like Emperor Ming, who barely reached the divine emperor level through the power of their lineage, are not recognized by Yulan City. The early stage divine emperor enlightened one's power level is the lowest threshold for being recognized as a divine emperor. We have also discovered 53,321 suspected early-stage divine emperor enlightened ones. The intelligence for suspected early-stage divine emperor enlightened ones was much more brief. The 51,029th. Luo Feng recently arrived in Yulan City, residing in the same cave mansion as Emperor Qing, suspected early-stage divine emperor enlightened one, likely a source world powerhouse. This was the record regarding Luo Feng. I'm actually also in the intelligence report, though at the very end, Luo Feng chuckled. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.